So I picked up my phone, I pointed at myself, and um, I just tried to think of something to say, and I couldn't. And I looked at their guidelines, and it had just the most useless stuff in it. It was like, be upbeat and don't talk about death. And I was just like, this kid's 12. He's like dying of leukemia. Like, what? Last thing I can do right now is be upbeat. The only thought going through my head is like, everyone and everything I know is gonna die. Um, so anyway, actually, I didn't even put this in my notes, but I got an email from his dad a couple weeks ago, and it was actually kind of beautiful. He put together like a digital photo album of his son. One sec. You'll all have to bear with me. He put together a digital photo album of his son that just about broke my heart. It was, just everything he loved, everything he was really passionate about, everything he was great at. It had a big section at the end that was just dedicated to the computer that we built. So I helped spec out a machine, and I think it was Make-A-Wish. I'm sorry, I don't remember which foundation it was, but they gathered the parts and sent them to him. He was almost too sick to build it, too weak. He eventually did manage to build it. He got to play some games on it, which I guess is about the most you can ask. But yeah, it was a few months later. He just sent me a note saying it made a big difference, and I didn't really understand why. I mean, I was glad it helped, but it felt like such a small thing. Anyway, all I could see in the photo album was my kids. The whole thing made me question why I'm doing this. So I told myself at the beginning, well, it's about supporting my family, right? Like, why do you do anything? Why do you do a job? But it's pretty obvious to me it's about something else now. I mean, every time my wife would ask me, "Hey, how long do we need to keep doing these kinds of hours? Like, how long do we need to keep pushing like this before we can just back off and like have a life?" Like, I joke about it in our videos or on stream sometimes. I don't have any friends. The truth is, like, really, outside of people that I have met at work and then that I still work with, and my wife, like, I can count people that I would consider to be friends on like one hand, and people that I would consider to be confidants, not at all. But I would just always move the goalposts on her. I started with, "Hey, look, I'm going to slow down when we have kids." Then I said, "Hey, thanks for basically soloing our first kid in spite of your postpartum depression and all that. Good job. Tell you what, I'll slow down when we have a second one." And then I said I'd slow down when they're old enough to remember that daddy was always working. And then I said I'd slow down when they got to the age where they really need parent involvement to help them with their homework or their sports club or whatever else. And it's kind of funny because the whole thing actually sort of reminds me of Walter's character in Breaking Bad. Like, it starts out just as a way to pay a bill. He needs to treat his sickness, right? And then it moves on to him telling himself that it's about supporting his family and giving them a better life. And then eventually he realizes that the only reason he was doing it was because he wanted to for himself. And I mean, I'm not manufacturing and dealing meth, obviously, but sometimes I do wonder about the wider impact that I'm having on the world and whether it's a legacy that I am going to be proud of. Those of you who know me personally, which is very few of you probably, know that while I do have a studio full of flashy toys and cool gear, those are not the sorts of things that I would actually buy for myself. I'm the sort of person who believes in buying nice things, yes, but buying things that are nice in the sense that they have an ongoing value. Things like the fast fashion industry I find extraordinarily offensive. You should buy more expensive clothes because they're going to last longer or because they have more utility. I'm every car that I've owned personally has been secondhand, and to this date, I have driven every single one of them into the ground. I mean, it's not because it gives me some kind of satisfaction to sit in a vehicle every day with no air conditioning, like the Lambo, the Super Civic. Didn't even have AC or working door locks. It's just more, I hate waste. And as I grow older, I'm finding the kind of mindless consumerism that our videos, whether I like to or not, end up promoting more and more troubling. I don't have a solution to it. I love tech and I want to make videos about tech. And ultimately, I mean, part of this whole sense of aimlessness is that I don't feel like I'm ultimately going to make a difference one way or the other. If I do change what I'm doing, I just kind of feel like none of it matters. So don't expect tomorrow's video to be any different from the one the day before it. Quite honestly, I mean, maybe it won't gloss over important details like AMD effectively bait and switching their customers on the performance of their graphics card, but fundamentally it's going to be about the same thing. But I just thought it was, high time we have a heart-to-heart, right? I only do this once every crazy big milestone. Anyway, the point of this is not to make you guys worry that I'm going away. I also really don't need you guys to pick me up off the mat. I'm not down. I'm certainly not out. I guess really the end of it is that I just wanted to share with you guys what's given me the motivation to just keep doing it. I'm just going to do it because I love it. And I'm not going to try and tell myself that it's for money or that it's for supporting my kids or whatever else. I'm just going to do it because I love it. The thing I love is definitely changed. I started out just because I loved tech. I wasn't particularly well compensated given the hours that I put in for being the tech tips guy when I worked at the computer store, but all I cared about was that it gave me an excuse to take home the latest gear for a test drive, right? And then you guys came along, and because you supported me, I eventually was able to work my way all the way up to getting early samples and all the inside info and parlaying this influence, this status as sort of the face of the brand into effectively a promotion, right? So it turned into a livelihood. Then I launched the business, and I was always upfront with you guys. I loved tech. That's my first love. But if I couldn't make money at it, I was going to have to go get a real job. Thanks to you guys, I never needed to. Linus Media Group turned, I'm pretty sure it was 7. Man, don't quote me on that. But Linus Media Group has gotten from the point where a bank wouldn't even give us a credit card to we actually got invited to a client event a little while ago, and I'm really not into that kind of stuff, but it felt, it made me feel kind of like, hey, we did something, we did what we set out to do. They call us a company now instead of that client who makes YouTube videos. So yeah, the purpose. So I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm not going to look for a reason anymore, because it really doesn't matter what you do. And the thing that I have reflected on a lot over the last little while, and the conclusion I've come to, is that who cares? What is life, right? It's the people you do it with, not what you do. And in my whole incredible journey there's been only a few constants. My wife, I want to thank her again. She's amazing. She is more responsible for all the good things I've ever done or become than you guys could possibly know. I've made mistakes. She's talked me down from a lot of ledges. Next up, my team. They're incredible. They're wonderful. They put their heart and soul into everything we do, and it's funny. It's gone from, like a lot of them I felt like had a personal loyalty to me in the early days, and now I feel like it's bigger than that. They've got a personal loyalty to each other, to the brand, to the audience, and that was what I always set out to build. And you guys have been a constant. I mean, whether you were a subscriber 10 million and 10,595,000 or whatever, it doesn't matter, or number one. Back to what I said at the beginning, you guys are the reason that I have what I would honestly consider to be the best life ever. And so I want to thank you guys. I'm going to stop looking for a purpose in it. I'm just going to have fun doing what I'm doing. So I'm not retiring. That's why the stream, which is not clickbait, is titled I've Been Thinking of Retiring. I'm also not promising that I'm not going to retire. I'm just taking a different approach, and we're going to see how it goes. If I feel like, I'm going to have a lot of fun making Channel Super Fun, then that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, one way or another, my kids are taken care of, but that doesn't mean I don't still feel a huge sense of indebtedness and responsibility for my staff, for you guys. I'm not going to abandon my post if the time isn't right, if the channel's not going to be okay, if the company's not going to be okay. My love of tech's not going anywhere, so if I did go somewhere, I'm sure I wouldn't stay away for long, but that's it. Thank you guys. Thank you for putting up with my crappy microphone. I mean, it wasn't intentional. It was just more me putting off doing this and not wanting to plan it, that I didn't bring a proper microphone home. So I just have like my mod mic. It's like Gen 2. It sucks. But normally it doesn't really matter because I don't use it. I think that's all I have to say for now. Wild ride, emotional roller coaster of a stream. Again, thank you guys for being here. Thank you to those who are super chatting. I'm sorry, I really don't know if I want to stay live anymore right now. But thank you for your support, and good night, everybody.